Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balaba Jayo Girivara Dari Jai Girivara Dari Gopi Jana Balaba Jai Girivara Dari Jai Girivara Dari Yasuranandana Jai Braja Janaranjana. Not too fast. Jai Yasuranandana Jai Braja Janaranjana. Munatira Vanachani Jayo Kunja Bihari Jai Kunja Bihari Munatira Vanachari Jayo Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balaba Jaya Girivara Dari Jai Girivara Dari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jai Girivara Dhari Jai Girivara Dhari Jai Yasudanandana Jai Rajajanarandana Jai Yasudanandana Jai Rajajanarandana Munatira Vanachari Jayo Kunja Bihari Jai Kunja Bihari Munatira Vanachari Jayo Kunja Bihari Jai Kunja Bihari Radhamadavo Jayo Kunja Bihari Radhamadavo Jayo Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Follow. Hey! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai! Jai Shri Ram! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Sri Ram. Whoa. Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Sri Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Sri Ram. Jai Sri Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Prem. Hey. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, Haribo. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo. Haribo. Yay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Whoa! Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Gaur Prem. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, bolo bolo, hey! Kirtan! Hey, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Woo! Open! Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Gaur Prem, die! Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Haribo! Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Ram! Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Whoa! Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare. Kirtan. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hey! Hare Go, Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo. Hare Go, Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Gaur Premanandi, Sesatai Gaur Prem 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 Premanandi, Nitai Gaur Prem 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 Premanandi, Shila Baba Barake, Kirtan forever. I think we're okay now. This is not the right book. We're reading from that verse. What is it in Srimad Bhagavatam about Lord Rama? I asked Ravi. This is 9. 9, what's the chapter? Hare Krishna, everyone. I'd like to thank the temple management for this opportunity to address all of you on this very important day. As we all know, we're chanting Jai Sri Ram, where finally the beautiful temple for the glorification of Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman is being inaugurated in Ayodhya. I wish we were all there, but we're there in spirit, yes? Monumental moment. So I thought it would be appropriate today to speak something about Lord Ramachandra. And of course, Srimad Bhagavatam contains some information about Lord Ram in the 9th canto. So I'll speak from 9th canto, chapter 10, verse number 4. The Sanskrit just goes on and on and on, so I won't attempt that. It's quite intricate and long, and the verse is also long, and there's no purport, but we'll take guidance from Srila Prabhupada's words elsewhere. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Translation. To keep the promise of his father intact, Lord Ramachandra immediately gave up the position of king. Accompanied by his wife, Mother Sita, wandered from one forest to another on his lotus feet, which were so delicate that they were unable to bear even the touch of Sita's palms. The Lord was also accompanied by Hanuman, king of the monkeys, or by another monkey, Sugriva, and by his own younger brother, Lord Lakshman, both of whom gave him relief from the fatigue of wandering in the forest. Having cut off the nose and ears of Suparnaka, thus disfiguring her, the Lord was separated from Mother Sita. He therefore became angry, moving his eyebrows and thus frightening the ocean, who then allowed the Lord to construct a bridge to cross the ocean. Subsequently, the Lord entered the kingdom of Ravana to kill him like a fire devouring a forest. May that Supreme Lord, Ramachandra, give us all protection. Omangyan timidandasya shataya chaksunimiritam jena tasmasi gudare Shri Chaitanya manobishtam shtapitam jena bhutale shvayam rupa kadamayam dadanti sva padantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. So here in the 9th canto of Garantaraj, the king of all scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam, we have a beautiful summary of the pastimes of Lord Ram. Of course, we all know that the full story, the full pastime, is there in the epic Ramayana. This was just a summary, but Kaviraj Goswami says, elegance is truth spoken concisely. We got the whole pastime in one verse. But the entire pastime in details, of course, is there in the Ramayana, which, was written down eons ago, but remains as popular today as it always was, especially here in India, in Bharat. The Ramayana itself consists of 24,000 verses in 6 cantos, comprising of 500 chapters. And Ramayana begins with the great sage Valmiki inquiring from Narada Muni as to who is the most virtuous person, who possesses all good qualities. That's as loud as I can speak. Who is the most virtuous person who possesses all good qualities? So Narada Muni, he replies, it's Lord Ram. And later in chapter 2, Lord Brahma requests Valmiki to write about the pastimes of Lord Ram. He says, "You shall narrate the legend of Ram, the virtuous, intellectual, and intrepid one, and a godlike person in this world as well, as you have heard it from the sage Narada." So Valmiki, immediately getting this instruction from Lord Brahma, he began writing. It's interesting, I was studying last night, he wrote in the Anustup meter. Anustup meters, it's the same meter that we have in Bhagavad-gita. I never knew that before. Anustup, there's different ways you can chant the mantras, so he wrote in Anustup. And as so, we have ample knowledge of one of the Das avatars, one of the 10 primary incarnations of the Lord, avatars of Krishna. Of course, we know Krishna's avatari. What does avatari mean? I mean, he's the source of all those incarnations. That's stated very clearly in the very beginning of Bhagavatam. Te chamsa kalo pumsha krishnashtu bhagavan swayam indre vakalam lokam vidayunte juge juge. Just to establish who's topmost. The verse is, all the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or plenary portions of the Supreme Lord. But Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets whenever there is a disturbance created by atheists. The Lord incarnates to protect the theists. So Krishna, avatari, the source of the Das avatars and the many waves of incarnations that come to this world, he's called Bhagavan, which according to the great sage Parashara Muni means he who possesses all beauty, all strength, all fame, all knowledge, all wealth, and all renunciation. That's Bhagavan Shri Krishna. And his various expansions, the avatars, may possess some or a lot, but not all of these opulences. It's Krishna, but Krishna has a specific purpose, purpose in coming to the world, so he'll use one of his opulences in that particular incarnation. But according to Srila Jiva Goswami, in his Krishna Sandarbha, Lord Ramchandra, this is really interesting, and Lord Nrsingadev are all in a special category, for they also possess all 6 opulences. I was stunned when I read that. Bhagavan Krishna, he's the owner of all opulences. And his expansions, they come for particular purposes, and they may exhibit a few of those opulences, but not all of them. But according to Jiva Goswami, Lord Ram and Nrsinga, they have all these 6 opulences in full. They're incarnations, but they have these opulences in full. Jiva Goswami writes in Krishna Sandarbha, the Sringar Rama Krishna Shu Sadgunya Pari Puranam. The 6 opulences of wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation are fully present in the forms of Narasimha, Ram, and Krishna. All glories to Srila Jiva Goswami. Some tidbits of extra nectar. But Srila Rupa Goswami, Prabhupada, he quotes the same. Actually, he's quoting from Padma Purana. But he writes it in his Lagu Bhagavatam 1.5.16. Nrsinga Rama Krishna Shu Sadguyam Pari Puritam Parabhashtash Tute Tasya Dipat Upana Dipa Bhati. In Lord Nrsingadev, Ramchandra and Krishna, the 6 transcendental opulences are perfect and complete. They are the Paravashtas. Paravashtas in Sanskrit means the most important. So here we're describing incarnations. So they're the most important incarnations. Of course, Krishna's not an incarnation, but they're the most important personalities. From him, Krishna, they are manifested as lamps are lighted from an original lamp. But both those authors say that though Ram and Sringa have all these opulences, they don't manifest them when they're here in this world. Krishna does. We can go through each of those opulences and see how Krishna, 5,000 years ago, exhibited those opulences to declare himself as the supreme absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead. But although Lord Ram and Nrsimha they don't manifest them when they come to the earth. Another transcendental detail. So, each of the many incarnations, we're speaking about 2, Rama and Nrsimha, of the avatars, but Bhagavatam says there's as many incarnations who come from Vaikuntha as there are waves of the ocean. I don't know how much you swim. I don't see people in India swimming so much. When they go to the beach here, they go up to their ankles. But if you ever, in the West, we go swimming, we ride the waves, etc. And the waves just keep coming and coming and coming and coming and coming. So do the incarnations of the Lord. He's so kind. Sometimes people see the suffering of this world and they think, how could there be God? There's so much suffering. Well, there is God, sir, and he's coming every day of Brahma. And in higher circles, time is calculated by the time of the day because they're more important than us. We don't calculate time by the time of the ants. And how important are we in the universe? Time is calculated by the Devatas. So if you take it like that, Krishna comes every day. How kind he is. We have all forgotten him to greater or lesser degrees, but he never forgets us even for a moment. He's got our back. There's that phrase. He's got our back. More specifically, he's got our heart. Because although he's in the spiritual world as Bhagavan Sri Krishna, he's all pervading by his energies. He expands himself into the heart of every created being who comes to this world. He accompanies us and waits for us to surrender. I heard a tape the other day. Prabhupada said when we fall from the spiritual world, Krishna accompanies us a short distance. Prabhupada said, he accompanies us, trying to convince us not to go. Can you imagine? Krishna's accompanying. Don't go. It's dukhalaya mashashvatam. It's a temporary place full of suffering. You're in a world of eternity, knowledge, and bliss, and you're going to a world which is temporary, full of ignorance and suffering. You fool! And what did we say? Sorry, I'm out of here. Mumbai. So, just like when, in my country, in my era, 1970s, there was a cultural revolution and the youth were all up in arms and they'd leave home to, find happiness, and forget their parents, but the mother and father never forget the child. Once I had an argument with my father, big argument, and I said, I was 14, I'm leaving home forever. My dad was a smart guy. He said, okay, go. Go pack your things. So I packed my things and I just about to go out the front door, and I realized I didn't have any money. So I looked at my dad. He said, here's $100. Have a good time. So for a young 14-year-old boy, $100 doesn't last long if you're out there to enjoy. And within 3 days, I was sleeping in the forest in the cold. I had anything to eat, and I snuck back home. I came through the garage up through the living room to my bedroom, and as I went through the living room, I noticed there was a little light on. And I walked past the chair that I'd often see my father sitting in. As I walked past, there he was. He said, "Welcome home, son. I didn't forget you for a moment." And I broke down crying, "Dad, I love you." You know. So something like that. It's, you know, this is just an analogy, of course, but Krishna's always concerned about us. He makes so many plans. He comes again and again and again, every day. If someone comes to your house and knocks on the door every day with a message, yeah, maybe you should listen. So Krishna comes. And his primary purposes, we have so much information about the Supreme Lord. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Why does he come? To deliver the pious, which, who are the most pious? You, devotees of the Lord. To annihilate the miscreants and to re-establish the principles of religion. So Lord Ram, Jai Sri Ram! He's Krishna. Sometimes I have a beautiful deity of Lord Sringar. He's very angry. He's actually bifurcating Hiranyakashipu, and this deity is very old, 300 years old. He has a garland of intestines. What a darshan every morning. But I always think that he's Krishna when Krishna's angry, because Krishna's avatari. When Krishna gets angry, he's Nrsimhadev, and nobody can become more angry than the Lord. More loving than the Lord, and more angry than the Lord. So we don't want the anger, we want the love. But we worship Nrsimha for protection. So Ram appeared in Treta Yuga as Purushottam. Purushottam. Purushottam means the worst of mankind. Purushottam. But Purushottam, the best of all male personalities, is Krishna. So Krishna appeared as Ram, the best amongst male personalities. And each incarnation has some unique features, like variety is the spice of life. We love to read about Krishna's various moods, because the incarnations have particular moods. So we love to hear about Lord Ramchandra, because, well, amongst other things, he's famous as the perfect king. He's a perfect king, he's a perfect leader. We also know him as the perfect husband. We know him as the perfect brother. And with Dasharath, we know he's the perfect son. He's the original acharya. He's the best example in every regard. And as human beings, we should look towards the ideal character and amplify. I came from North India. It's very cold, and I got a cold. Anyway. In other words, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he showed us what is perfect character. For example, in his role as the king of Ayodhya. That kingdom is even famous today. It's called the Ram Raja. It's glorified, isn't it? We want India to become Raja again. And why? Because in his kingdom, all citizens were happy. Do you know a country where all citizens are happy? There's always opposition, there's different political parties, there's revolutions. Not in Ram's kingdom. Why? Because he sat as the perfect king. A perfect king means, well, in general terms, like Raj Rishi. A king, he's a good organizer, a good manager, but he's also sadhu. He's a rishi, but he's Raj. In Rajasthan, we have so many examples of kings who were devotees of Krishna. And they accepted the deities of Vrindavan in times of difficulty. So Ram was the perfect king, and he not only managed nicely and arranged everything, but he also took care of people's spiritual needs. Nowadays, many governments want to be distanced from religion. But that's not very intelligent, because religion, reconnecting with God, is the purpose of life. So as a king, Lord Ram ordered the brahmanas to perform sacrifices, and as a result of those spiritual sacrifices, there was prosperity. You can't have prosperity without the mercy of God. And Krishna said, in the Gita, Krishna says, in the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, be thou happy by this yajna by Vishnu. Do a spiritual yajna, because its performance will bestow upon you all the necessary things of life. You can't have prosperity unless you recognize from whom all these things are coming and say thank you. What's a yajna? We use the word yajna by Vishnu. Essentially, a yajna is just saying, thanks, Krishna. If someone gives you a gift and you don't say thank you, can you expect any more gifts? My parents trained me whenever I'd get a gift. Son, say thank you. Say thank you. Thank you. Say from your heart, thank you. So what do we have to be thankful for? The air we breathe, the water we drink, the earth we walk on, the vegetables that grow. Mankind's not doing that. Where's it coming from? From the Supreme Controller. So at least we should have the decency to say, we say in Russian, spasibo bolshoy. Thank you very much, Krishna. In French, merci beaucoup. To say, otherwise these things will dry up, and that's actually what's happening. So Ram set the example. He managed well, and he encouraged the citizens in spiritual life. He was also the ideal husband, because he gave protection to his wife. As Lord Ram is an expansion of Krishna, so Srimati Siti Devi, she's an expansion of Radharani. Well, technically an expansion of Lakshmi Devi, but Radharani is the original Shri, so all the female expansions come from her. So when protection was needed, Ram rose to the challenge. When Sita was kidnapped by the evil-minded Ravana, I don't even want to say his name, it's like a four-letter word. Ravana. Death to Ravana! Lord Ramchandra did everything in his power to rescue her. Of course, it's one of the central themes of Ramayana. It's why it's a love story. It's the original love story in a transcendental way. We shouldn't read, novels about love and watch movies about love. That increases our material desires. We should hear about transcendental love. Rupa Goswami says, as young girls are attracted to young boys, and young boys are attracted to young girls, with the same intensity, but in a transcendental way, Krishna, let me become attracted to you. We have to fall out of love with the material world and into love with the spiritual world. It's just a question of, redirecting our attachments to Krishna. It's gradual, but it culminates. O Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain. I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. That's the perfection of life. So this theme where, it makes the perfect movie, and I know people have tried to make a movie, but of the caliber of what people watch today, we're waiting for that movie director to come along. A movie of that caliber that enchants the entire society by the theme, but also everything that goes with it. All glories to that devotee or that company who produces the Ramayana and makes it a blockbuster. It's a funny word, a blockbuster. Ramayana. So in this theme of Sita being kidnapped by Ravana, on a certain level, it's just, like we hear things like that, There's many novels written and, where there's separation between husband and wife or friends and friends or lovers like that. But it's different in Ramayana, wherein both Ram and Sita cry for each other in separation. They're crying. Ram's crying, Sita. Sita's crying, Ram. Crying. So uninformed person, someone who's not familiar with Vedic literature, not familiar especially with our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, they may think, why is God crying? He's the supreme personality. Why is he crying like a baby? Why is his wife crying? Crying sometimes seen as a weakness. Someone may think, oh, Ram's crying. He must just be a mortal. But in fact, Ram and Sita are transcendental to this world, and they're simply exhibiting the highest sentiments of Vipralambha Bhav. Spiritual ecstasy and separation. Separation makes the heart grow fonder. Many times our acharyas have commented on that very deep subject matter of Vipralambha Bhav, how the gopis of Vrindavan, when Krishna left Vrindavan and went to Mathura and on to Dwarka, they were feeling so much separation, but in separation their love increased. This is the beauty of separation, that, it's so mean, Krishna left. No, but when he left, in separation, the gopis' remembrance of him and attachment to him increased and increased and increased. And then again, when there's sambhog, when there's separation, or meeting, the meeting's very sweet. Like if your husband goes away on a business trip to London, good, I need a break from him. But after 6 months, when's he coming home? When he comes home and you run and jump in his arms in the airport, So these things have their purpose. So ordinary people may think, why is Ram crying? And it's a nice pastime to illustrate how Ram's crying is something very deep and spiritual. One time Parvati, who's Parvati? The wife of Lord Shiva. She saw her husband chanting japa. Shiva was on Mount Kailash. She was chanting japa. So Parvati, she inquired, Pati, you're doing japa very intensely. Whose name are you chanting? So Shiva replied, I'm chanting the name of Ram. I'm chanting the name of Ram. So Parvati said, well, where is Ram? So Shiva said, actually right now he's in the Dandakaranya forest on the planet Earth. So Parvati became intrigued. Pati, can I have your permission to go and see him? So Shiva, of course, yes, go see Ram. Let's run to the temple and have darshan. So yes, you can go see Ram. So Parvati came down to the earth, to the Dandakaranya forest, and she was wandering around like, where's this Ram whom my husband is so attached to, chanting Ram, 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 Ram. Suddenly she heard this wailing, this crying, Sita! Sita! My beloved wife, where have you gone? She's looking, where's this coming from? And she looked in a little part of the forest. She saw it was Lord Ramchandra crying. Of course, we know he was crying in separation, Vipralambha. But she thought, this is just the pastime for instruction. She thought, oh look, the person whom my husband is glorifying, he's just a mere mortal because he's just crying in separation from his wife. So she went back to Kailash and she said to Shiva, Pati, I saw this Ramchandra, but he was crying. Isn't he just a mortal? So Shiva said, no, but you don't understand, Devi. He's crying and lamenting because these are transcendental symptoms of love. Go back and look again. Try to understand. So Parvati went back to the Dandakaranya forest, and this time, the plot thickens. She assumed the form of Sita. She made herself look like Sita. But Shastra says that when Ram passed by, he didn't even look at her. He didn't notice her. Why? Because he's only attracted to the true form of Sita. He can't be fooled. He's only attracted to his divine consort, not to anyone else. So Parvati went back to her husband Shiva and she said, Pati, now I understand that Lord Ram is not a mortal being. He's completely transcendental. Because I looked like Sita, but he wasn't attracted to me. He's only attracted to the Divine Mother, Sita. I'm your wife, I possess all mystic powers, but I couldn't fool him. So I can understand his crying was a manifestation of deep separation from the goddess of fortune. So Shiva replied, yes, Mata. Parvati was shocked. Prabhu, I'm not Mata, I'm not your mother, I'm your wife. Why are you calling me Mata? So Shiva said, no, from now on I'm going to call you Mata because you stood in front of my Lord as his wife. You assumed the form, so you stood in front of my Lord as his wife, so now you're my mother. So Parvati became very disturbed, and this is one reason she later committed sati. But because the relationship between Parvati and Shiva is also a transcendental relationship and eternal, she later took birth as the daughter of the Himalayas, Himavati. And eventually she was reunited with Shiva. So the idea is these pastimes of Ram, they're not something mundane. It's not that they're mundane lovers like in this world. Everything about Krishna and his incarnations is transcendental. So again, Sita was kidnapped by the evil-minded Ravana, and Lord Ramchandra eventually rescued her. This character, Ravana, he's in the level of, Hiranyakashipu and Kamsa. His very name indicates, actually, one scholar translates the name Ravana as, he who makes the universe scream in pain. No couple has ever given their child the name Ravana. What's your baby's name mean? He who makes the universe scream in pain. And Ravana committed so many atrocities we don't even want to begin to mention. He conquered the 14 worlds, as did Hiranyakashipu. But his biggest folly was to kidnap Sita, the goddess of fortune. He wanted to enjoy her, but he was unable to do so. So how's that possible? Someone who conquered the 14 worlds, who fought with the great demigods, who became submissive to him and became his servants, he can't make a fair princess submit to his desires? He can't force her? I was always wondering, as a new bhakta, how is it that Ravana, 10 heads, he could pick a princess up and just crush her with one of his hands? But he couldn't do it, and why? Well, because it's described that in his youth, as a young man, Ravana had violated a young girl who happened to be the daughter of a great sage. So this sage was furious that this young boy had the audacity to violate his daughter. So he cursed him. Sages can bless, or sages can curse, like a double-edged sword. We want to please them so we get their blessings, not offend them so we get their curse. So this sage was very furious, and he cursed Ravana. Should you ever force a woman to enjoy sensual pleasures with you, your head will explode into 10,000 pieces. The heads aren't very big. So what's 10,000 pieces? It's like this. Your head, So try as hard as he could, he was cursed. He could never enjoy Sita, who was an expansion again of Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. So Srila Prabhupada in this regard comments that in the same way people in general are cursed. Everyone's cursed. In the sense they're trying to enjoy Lakshmi, which means Lakshmi or good fortune or opulence or name or fame in the material world. But although such people have that money, have that riches, have that fame, they're not truly happy because they're trying to enjoy the opulence of Lakshmi separately from her husband Narayan. Lakshmi is never separated from Narayan. For example, Radharani, one of her names is Anapayini, meaning she's never separated from Krishna. So there was some separation for a particular purpose, of course, increasing love. But in general, Sita and Ram are always together. So you can't have Sita without Ram, you can't have Lakshmi without Narayan. So if you worship Narayan, if you worship Ram, if you worship Krishna, these things will come. Whatever is required for your maintenance will come, so you can peacefully chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So we can't discuss the subject matter. I mean, I mentioned how many verses there are, how many cantos there are in Ramayana. What can I say in 45 minutes about Ramayana? But we can't finish the class without mentioning one of the favorite characters of the Ramayana, Hanuman. One of the most dear servants of the Lord. Actually, Krishna is more pleased when we glorify his devotees than when we glorify him. That's his loving nature. So how can we conclude without, we've spoken about Sita, we've spoken about Ram, we mentioned the name Lakshman, Sita Ram, Lakshman. But what about Hanuman? We couldn't go away today without saying something about Hanuman. Hanuman. Hanuman was a monkey, but not like a Vrindavan monkey. I've had four pairs of glasses stolen by the monkeys of Vrindavan. Whenever I see them, I go, oh, and they go, oh, and I run away. But Hanuman was a monkey of the Varna race. The Varna race. Those monkeys are actually more elevated than humans. They just have those forms. And he was a most devoted servant of Ram. And he was in the Dasya Ras, which means the servant mood. As we know, there's 4 principal relationships we can have with the Supreme Lord. Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. Servitude, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love. Hanuman exemplifies Dasya, servitorship. We may think, oh, maybe one day I'll be a cowherd boy, can wrestle with Krishna in the sands of Ramanreti, or maybe I'll be a gopi. But through Hanuman we can appreciate how nice this Dasya Rasa actually is. It exists because Krishna wants it to exist. We don't think it's inferior. No, Krishna has created all these rasas because he likes his servants, and the servants like him. There's nothing greater than being the servant of a glorious master, like Srila Prabhupada. My dear godbrother, Burijan Prabhu, he wrote a book, My Glorious Master, all about Prabhupada. In this world, to be a servant means to be subjugated, exploited, taken advantage of. Your boss works you to the midnight hour, pays you, gives you the same pay. We don't want to be a servant, we want to be masters. But if you're the servant of a glorious master who takes care of you in every regard, that's very nice. And that's who we are anyway. Jiver Supoya Krishna Nityadas. We're just servants. So the perfection of being a servant is being the servant of a glorious master. We're already there. We're all servants of our founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. That's our identity. When Prabhupada came to the West, he came with his passport. And I had the opportunity one time to carry that little white bag, little attaché case of Prabhupada, when we were checking in for a flight from New York to London. And we got to the immigration place, and I was standing with Prabhupada to help him, and the immigration officer said, "Let me see your passport." So Prabhupada couldn't open the lock of that little case. He wouldn't let anyone carry it. He carried it, because we were all young, humbly-bumbly, aspiring devotees, that we might lose it. See? But he couldn't open the lock. So the immigration officer is getting impatient. He said, "Open up that now!" So I leaned over and I said, "Sir, if you speak to my spiritual master like that one more time, I'm going to smash your face." He said, "I thought you Hare Krishnas were non-violent." I said, "Wait and see." Somehow I got away with it. It was just... So then Prabhupada, he said, "So Indradyumna, you open." I always wanted to see what was inside that attaché case. So, and it clicked. I said, "Krishna, thank you." And I opened it. And I was gazing. There was a mirror. There was some tilak. This beautiful picture of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Beautiful picture. There was a pen. There were some notes. And something Prabhupada had signed. And I'm looking, and the immigration officer said, "Young man, I'm supposed to look in there, not you. Give me the passport." So I picked up the passport just to make sure, because there were many legal documents. I opened it up. And I saw that, there's Prabhupada's picture, and then there was, you had to make, give some details. In those days, Indian passport, like what's your address, your date of birth, and your occupation. So Prabhupada's address was there. He just wrote Vrindavan, UP. And then his address, and there was his occupation. So I read the occupation, and I practically fell over. His, someone could say your occupation is you're a politician, or you're a farmer, or you're a carpenter. Prabhupada wrote occupation, servant of His Divine Grace, Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Paribhajacharya Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So that's all we are, and what more would we want to be than the servants of such a personality as Srila Prabhupada? Who are you? I'm a Prabhupada man, you can say. That's the highest epitaph that you can achieve. And many of my senior godbrothers, I think of them like that. I think, I want to be like them. They're a Prabhupada man. You couldn't get a better designation in ISKCON, in the 14 worlds, than that. So to be a servant, dasya, it's very nice, because if you're the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the Vaishnavas, you have the dust of the lotus feet of those devotees all in your head at one time. Das under das, 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 das. So therefore we try to be humble and serve any and all Vaishnavas. We don't pick and choose, because any Vaishnavas who's joined this movement, he's a special person. He's turned his back on material existence and wants to revive his relationship with Krishna, even if he's just a bhakta for 1 week. We honor that person. We avoid criticism, but we honor the devotees. So Hanuman exemplifies this dasya. And Hanuman, as you know, I'm just repeating what you already know, he first met Ram in the Dandakaranya forest. Ram had been banished to the forest for 14 years with Lakshmana and Sita, and one day in their wanderings, they entered into the kingdom of Sugriva. He was the leader of the Varna race. And Sugriva, he was informed by his spies that these interesting looking people, they look like humans, they've entered your kingdom of the monkeys. So he wanted to try to understand, are they enemy or are they friend? Are they friend or foe? So he sent his trusted minister. Hanuman was a minister in the government of Sugriva. He said, Hanuman, go find out who these three personalities are. They're wandering here. Go check them out. So Hanuman disguised himself as a mendicant. He disguised himself, how mendicants look. He disguised himself as a mendicant. And he just was walking on the trail, and he came before Ram, before Lakshman, before Sita. And he was overwhelmed. He was overwhelmed. Just like when the curtain opens. This temple is famous. When I come here, I think you take better care of your deities than any other temple in the world, I have to say. They're so beautiful. Look at the decorations. Every day it's like that. And not just the decorations, but the mood in which you, right? Krishna consciousness is more about the mood than just a practical thing. You can feel the mood here. You can feel Prabhupada's mood here. How he had this temple built for the glorification of these beautiful deities. So when Hanuman came before God, what is the mood of coming before God? Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Every morning our hearts explode, even as aspiring devotees. Something's happening by the mercy of Gauranga. We're coming before the Lord, and we get this impression how great God is and how small I am, and let me serve Him. It's the first step, Aishvarya Bhav, before going on to higher subject matters. So here's Hanuman, a monkey in the forest, and he's standing before the Supreme Personality of Godhead and appreciating the transcendental qualities of Ram. Remember, him and the Sringadev have these opulences, so Hanuman, he saw that. He fell down on the ground, Dandavat, paid his obeisances, and then came up and kneeled before them. And unable to contain himself, he gave up his disguise. And there he is, Hanuman, the monkey warrior. And he began glorifying Ram. Glorifying. Sometimes we hear how sages, with their pure hearts, when they glorify Krishna, it's like the flow of the Ganges, you know. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is famous like that. When he glorified Lord Chaitanya, it was like the verses, he wasn't thinking what to say next, or how do I come, just flowed from their heart. This is devotee. One of the qualities of devotees, they're poets, so when they glorify, it's just wave after glorification. So Ram was impressed. This monkey's come before me. This Varna has come before me in the forest. But he turned to Lakshman, he said, listen to how this monkey's glorifying me. Actually, he said to Lakshman, he said, Lakshman, the charm of this monkey's voice is amazing. He used the right words at the right time. He is pleasing, gentle, and has gravity of speech. The contents of his speech are attractive to my heart. He knows the Rig, Yajur, and Samavedas very well. He cannot be so gentle if he has not studied the Shastras. He must have learned from his teachers very well. He spoke much, but he did not use even a single wrong word. While speaking, there was no fault in his body. He was focused. His speech can win over an enemy who has a raised sword. When I read that last part, his speech can win over an enemy who has a raised sword. Imagine if someone's there to kill you, but you speak in such a way they drop the sword and embrace you. So then Ram concluded, if I can get such a person as an associate, then I can achieve success. So now we know why Ram accepted Hanuman. Of course, they're eternal, but this is how it's explained. And for ourselves, we can appreciate these qualities of a servant. If we want to be servant of Prabhupada, we want to be servant of our temple president, our regional secretary, our GBC member, our mentor, right? Those who are helping us advance in Krishna consciousness. In order to please them, we should imbibe the same qualities. We should use words at the right time. We should have gravity of speech. It should be attractive to the heart. We should know the Shastras. We should learn from our teachers. We should not use one single wrong word. And we should speak in such a way that an enemy with a raised sword will drop it and embrace it. Just like the Goswamis. The Goswamis were attractive to the gentle and the ruffians. It's the charm, because the devotee sees he has no enemies. He sees everyone as brother and sister. Why? Because we have the same Father. Ultimately, we all come from Krishna, and we may be born in this country with this color of skin, this language, this sex, but ultimately, because we have the same Father, we're all brothers and sisters. This is the vision of equality. So if you can explain that very quickly before the sword comes down on your head, you can convince that person. But to do that, you have to have tejas. You have to have spiritual potency. Where does that potency come to preach? From good sadhana. Every morning, 16 rounds. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So, quick forward because it's getting a little late. Many chapters later in the Ramayana, Hanuman, these are the high points, that we always go to in the story. Hanuman is entrusted to find Sita, who's been kidnapped by Ravana. He jumps over the ocean in one jump, one leap, and he arrives in Lanka. And after much searching, he found Sita in a garden of Ashok trees. To make a long story, it's a long story, we want to relish every word, but of course there's breakfast. So he quickly returned to Lord Ram with the good news he'd found Sita. He saw her in the Ashok, he gave her the ring, the pastime, we've all seen the play, Then I have to go back and tell Ram, I found Sita. But at that special moment where he came before Ram, he said, Ram, found I Sita? He said, found Sita I. That's even more like mind-boggling. Ram, found Sita I. Now this may seem a little peculiar, found Sita I, but in fact Hanuman had chosen his words very carefully. For if he had said, I found Sita, the first word that Ram would hear was I. It doesn't denote if Sita has been found or not. Ram's living on the edge, Every moment seems like a millennium. He's feeling such vipralamba bhav, such separation. Every moment counts. So if Hanuman had said, I, in that space of time, Ram would think, did he find Sita? Or he could have said, Sita I found. And the first word would have been Sita, but it's not explaining if he found her. So, as a good servant, knowing the heart of his master, he said, found Sita I. Hanuman ki! So after Sita had been rescued and all the demons, including Ravana, had been defeated, Ram had so much love for his dasi, his servant. He's the one that took the risk to go to the kingdom of the Asuras alone and find Sita and come back. And then he went and he also fought. There have been huge Rakshasas, but he survived. So after all was said and done, it's described that Lord Ramchandra assembled all his warriors. And who were his warriors? Monkeys and bears. Lord's so kind, he engages the most fallen in order to elevate them. He gives seva even to us. In fact, one time I heard Prabhupada say, just as Lord Ramchandra conquered Ravana and Lanka with monkeys and bears, so I'm conquering the world with my disciples. And I was thinking, Prabhupada's comparing me to a monkey or a bear, but I'm actually worse than that. Oh, glory to his divine grace, Srila Prabhupada. So Ram has assembled all the monkeys and the bears, and he started presenting gifts to them. And the last person was Hanuman. Hanuman was very humble. He was sitting in the back. Great servant, but the crest jewel of any devotee's qualities is his humility. It's a sign of his advancement. because he's realized how great is God and how small he is. Like if you start walking towards a mountain, I'm going to conquer that mountain. But the closer you get to the mountain, you realize how large it is and how small you are, so you become humble in front of Mount Everest. So the sign of a real self-realized person is he's not proud and arrogant and speaking about himself. It's like Prabhupada, he just always spoke about Krishna. It was very hard to get Prabhupada to speak about when he was young, and he just wanted to glorify Krishna. So this humility is the natural consequence of really realizing how great is God and how small I am, how fortunate I am to be serving that greatness. Just like Jayananda Prabhu, our dear Jayananda. Prabhupada said he's ISKCON's first saint. He was a hard worker. You know, devotees were preparing for Rath Yatra, but he was the one who was building the cart and passing out the pamphlets and going to Banana King Louis, Fisherman's Wharf, I'm from San Francisco, and begging for all the fruits for the feast. And, you know, after the Rath Yatra, everyone assembled in Prabhupada's room, but he was still in his work clothes, cleaning up the site. He'd come in last and he'd sit against the back of the Prabhupada's room and he'd fall asleep. Somebody nudge him, wake up, Prabhupada's speaking. Prabhupada saw that. He said, you leave him alone. He works harder than all of you together. Jayananda Prabhu ki. His humility, he was a great devotee, but he sat in the back, he did all the work. So in his posthumous letter to Jayananda, means after he departed, Prabhupada wrote a letter to him. And I'm sure he received it through the transcendental medium. My dear Jayananda, please accept my blessings. I want to thank you for all the service. You were the first one to give me a donation by which I could print Bhagavad-gita, and you helped establish this Rath Yatra festival in your country. And if you had any material desires at the time of your departure, you've gone to Svargaloka. And from there, you can promote yourself to the spiritual world. But because you were hearing the chanting of Hare Krishna when you died, I say you have gone to Krishna Loka. Jayananda Prabhu ki. It's no easy task. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sadurla. After many, 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 many lives, one completely surrenders to Krishna. But just as Lord Chaitanya is more merciful than Krishna, Prabhupada is more merciful than Lord Chaitanya, because if we had this practice like the followers of Lord Chaitanya would be very strict. But Prabhupada understood time, place, and circumstance, and very kindly. But we can achieve the same goal. What holy name was Jayananda hearing? He had leukemia. Everyone had gone to the Mangala arati. He was alone in his room. He could barely speak. What was Prabhupada referring to? There was a tape recording of Prabhupada chanting japa. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. That's what he heard. He heard Prabhupada's voice, and Prabhupada said the chanting of Hare Krishna, it's always beneficial for anyone to hear, but if you hear from the lips of a pure devotee, it has a special effect. So we have so many bhajaneers, we have so many kirtaneers, so many bhajans, you know, wonderful devotees chanting so nicely. But it should not be at the expense of hearing Srila Prabhupada's kirtans. They should also be playing within the temples, within our homes, and within our hearts. So many bhajans, Srila Prabhupada records, so many singing, so many classes Prabhupada has given. We should also regularly hear Srila Prabhupada's bhajans. It should be a daily function. Hearing Prabhupada sing the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So, at this assembly, where was Hanuman? He was in the back, sleeping. He worked so hard. Can you imagine? He jumped there and he fought and he was trying to... So Ram said, now, Hanuman, you come forward. And why should I come forward? I want to honor you. Hanuman started running away. The monkeys and bears grabbed him by his long tail. Woo! Brought him before Ram. And finally, he had a gift. for Hanuman. For others, he'd given some fruit and some this and, monkeys and bears and some clothing, etc. But the greatest thing we can get from the Lord or his servitor is blessings. But not any material blessings, just spiritual blessings. So do you want to know what Ram said to Hanuman at that moment? He said, "May my supreme affection for you continue forever. Let my love not be diverted to anyone else. May life continue in my body only so long as your story is spoken and heard on the surface of the earth." Hanumanji ki! Then there's that famous painting. Ram embraced Hanuman. He's the servant. For the servant, the embrace of the master, it's all he wants. He doesn't want all the gold and the emeralds and the jewels and the name and the fame of this world. He just wants the glance of the Lord, like Lord Shiva in that famous prayer he has. He's just wanting the glance of Srimati Radharani. We just want the glance of our authorities. Just, thank you. That's enough. We can go on forever and ever and ever. Just, do you know I exist? We had darshan one time with Prabhupada at New Mayapur. And 40 or 50 of us. And Prabhupada gave a nice talk. He was talking about separation, actually. And then he asked for questions. So I thought, I don't know if Prabhupada knows I even exist. I'm one of many. So just to get Prabhupada's attention, I raised my hand so that he would see me. And he looked, he said, "Yes, what is your question?" I didn't have a question. So I said, "Oh, no. I said, Prabhupada, in your talk you were saying how Lord Chaitanya, he sees Krishna everywhere. A pure devotee can see Krishna everywhere." I said, but in the Shikshastakam prayers, Lord Chaitanya is saying how he can't see Krishna, how he's feeling so much separation from Krishna. Where are you, Krishna? And when you said, I can't understand, it seems contradictory. So Prabhupada could see that I was a simple devotee. So he said, yes, this is very deep. Love and separation. He said, you will only understand this when one day you are very advanced. Hare Krishna. So I thought, he said, one day I may be advanced, so maybe I'll be advanced. So I'm just waiting for that day when I can understand what Srila Prabhupada is trying to tell us all. Go back home, back to Godhead, and love Krishna in that mood of Vipulamba Bhav, the mood of Braj. So just to get the glance of the spiritual master is enough, isn't it? Just your authority says thank you. The authorities should reciprocate with the loving service of the devotees. They should take the time, take the devotee apart and say, you did great today. You did some really good service. I just want to say thank you. That means a lot to the servant. So Ram, he embraced Hanuman. Hanuman had this big smile on his face. And he said, Ram said, I remain forever indebted to Hanuman. So you want to know what Hanuman said to Ram? He actually said it for us. One cannot establish a friendship with the Supreme Lord Ramachandra on the basis of material qualities, such as one's birth in an aristocratic family, one's personal beauty, one's elegance, one's sharp intelligence, or one's superior race or nation. None of these qualifications is actually a prerequisite for friendship with Lord Ram. Otherwise, how is it possible that although we uncivilized inhabitants, we monkeys in this forest, have not taken noble births, although we have no physical beauty, and although we cannot speak like gentlemen, Lord Ramachandra has nevertheless accepted us as friends. Therefore, whether one is a demigod or a demon, a man or a creature other than man, such as a beast or bird, everyone should worship Lord Ram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appears on this earth just like a human being. There is no need of great austerities or penances to worship the Lord, for he accepts even a small service offered by his devotee. Thus he is satisfied, and as soon as he is satisfied, the devotee is successful. Indeed, Lord Ram brought all the devotees, will take all of us devotees back to a home, back to Ayodhya, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. So in this way we can appreciate how nice it is to be a servant. And actually these pastimes are so nectarian that even Lord Krishna 5,000 years ago, and even Lord Chaitanya, they would reenact the Ramayana. We should read Ramayana today because, well, it's a day of Ram being glorified in Ayodhya, establishing the temple. So if Krishna and his friends reenacted Ram's pastimes, and if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as it's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, reenacted those pastimes, we should also reenact them, or at least remember them today, on this historic day in this great country of India, Bharat, where the temple of Lord Ram is being reestablished in all its glories, and the whole of India is, not the whole, but much of India is chanting Shri Ram, and it's all over the Western news as well. All over the world today, Lord Ram is being glorified. Let him be glorified by chanting Jai Shri Ram! Jai Shri Ram! Jai Shri Ram! Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. I hope this is not sounding self-serving, but anyway. We produced a new book. We're going from Ayodhya to Vrindavan now for a few minutes. This book's called The Sacred Forests of Vrindavan, the western bank of the Jamuna. It's a compilation of some lectures I've given over the years about Vrindavan, especially during the pandemic. I was in Vrindavan when, the borders were closed. You couldn't go in or out of India, and I'd been wandering the planet so many years and not for stopping. All of a sudden, the doors slam. I'm in my room, like, pacing back and forth. What am I going to do? And I saw all these books on the shelf that I didn't really research all those years. So I said, okay. So I started reading them, but Vaishnavas are always meant to share. And I came across so many nectarian details about Vrindavan, the places of Krishna's pastimes, the mood of those pastimes, the personalities who took part in those pastimes. It's unlimited. My dear godbrother Srivar Maharaj, he said in his research, there's 80 billion holy places in Vrindavan. He got that from the Padma Purana. So I thought it would be a nice service to devotees because, we go to Vrindavan, we don't know exactly where to go, and if we go, we don't really know so much. We may not be so fortunate to be on Dina Bandhu Prabhu's Parikrama party. He's my Parikrama guru, or Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj, or Radhanath Swami. We may not be part of that. And if you go with Radhanath Swami, you're 6,000 people far back. So I thought, let's produce a book so that when you go to Vrindavan, you can have a complete understanding of, as much as possible, of that Leela Sthan, that place. And we should go to Vrindavan because that's Prabhupada's home. He loved Vrindavan, so like father, like son, we should love Vrindavan, but you can't love someone unless you know something about them. So that's this book. It's a complete, nothing's complete. It's Krishna's eternal, but I researched the Goswamis, I researched Prabhupada's books, and even great Vaishnava poets like Surdas, etc. So this is the 12 forests on the western bank of the Jamuna, and next book will be the forest on the other side. So it's printed, for want of a better word, in a coffee table style, not the best analogy, but printed very nicely, my disciples, and there's beautiful paintings of all the places in Vrindavan as well. So if you can't go to Vrindavan immediately, because Bodhana Saraswati says, if you hear about Vrindavan, run to Vrindavan. But you can read this book in the privacy of your own home. And by reading it or speaking it with your friends, Shravanam Kirtanam brings Vrindavan Smaranam, brings remembrance. So you can create Vrindavan in your own home. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he said one day, I woke up and my house had been transferred into Goloka Vrindavan. So this is not a money-making venture. It's kind of hard for me to sit here and promote it, but it's a service to all of you. We serve each other to inspire. So this book was written to inspire you to love Braj by knowing as much as I could accumulate in 4 years of being locked in a room, 3.5 years being locked in a room, scared to death to go outside and get COVID. It's kind of a silver lining in a dark cloud for me. So we're going to be, Rasika, where will we sell? Oh yeah, I'm going to sit over there. If you'd like, please come over and purchase a book. And this is the environmental page. It's green. make Vrindavan green again. If you take a book, I'd be very happy to write a little dedication and a signature and the date, so that that you can remember Vrindavan and be blessed. So I know a lot of you are brahmacharis. You don't have a rupee to your name, but if anyone would like, I'll be sitting over there, and you can sign the books, and you can live in Braj 24/7. Okay. Once again, thank you to the temple authorities for inviting me to speak. It's been a great privilege to be with all of you, and have a blessed Ram. It's almost like Ram Nomi, isn't it? it's like Ram Nomi. It's just, but bear in mind that beautiful temples will be inaugurated, and if you can't be there, you can watch it on TV at 12 o'clock, I guess, it'll be. Okay? Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande, SriSriRadhaRasbihariTemple ki, Haribo! The book costs 2,500 rupees. Woo! I'll be over there.